Welcome back. I hope you're loving the conversation. I know you've been chilling for this episode, so we've entered such an interesting part of the life journey. But if you're catching us here, go back and hear the story from the beginning, because the dots connect. You get to you have more context and understanding of where we're at because of the history of the story. So, Mary, what I wanted to find out from you, just before, from the last episode, was the history of this phenomenon called Equity Bank. But let's start it from teach us, educate us.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Equity has an interesting history, and how it came up was, in a way, it's tied to the history of the banking industry in Kenya.
Oh.
Because what happened is that traditionally we had the mainstream commercial banks, and the business model was such that for you to open an account, you needed to pay what we call an account opening balance. Typically, that would have been like 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. That was the typical ask from the bank for you to open. And then the banks would also charge ledger fee monthly. And then you had to maintain a certain amount in the account for it to remain operational. We're also looking at a time when there were some restrictions on withdrawals. Like when I was at the university, I like telling this story. I used to bank with Post Bank. And the Post Bank was basically the bank for students. And the rule was, if you withdraw today, the next time you can withdraw is 7 days away. You can't believe this used to happen in somebody's lifetime. So there were those restrictions. You open, you do. So one time I had my brother's pre-wedding. And I had a duty because of the organization and all. So I went to Post Bank on a Saturday, like today, and I withdrew the money I had in there, or I needed. And then I entered a bus, number 7, to go to Pan-African Hotel to check on the cooking, because the cooking was being done there. My cousin was working there at that time. Now, I'm not sure what happened in the bus, but by the time I got to Pan-African,
there's nothing.
I had no coin on me.
Welcome to Nairobi.
I tell you. So I'm thinking, my brother's pre-wedding is tonight. I have no coin on me. So I decided to go back to Post Bank. And I went to the inquiry desk and told the guy there, excuse me, can you help me? I was here just some minutes ago, but I've lost the money I withdrew. Can you allow me, because I still have some money in the account, to withdraw a little bit more? So the guy looked up and pointed to a notice on the wall. Withdrawals will only be allowed after 7 days. Can you read?
And this is your money.
And it's my money, So those were the peculiar issues. So what then transpired was that those conditionalities that banks had placed on customers were not in tandem with the reality of the customers.
Okay.
Because if for instance you have a business or you are a low-cadre staff, so you're on a salary, if the bank tells you to keep or to bring 10,000 at a go for you to open an account, what does that mean? I cannot afford it. Because maybe my salary is 10,000. This is the salary, I'll pay my rent, I'll buy my food for my family, and all those other requirements. So if you tell me to give you 10,000, where will I get it from? Or if I'm a trader who deals with, anything, and you can talk about a vegetable vendor or a bitumba vendor or something. What is the take home per day? They are probably making 1,000. And this 1,000 is what will buy unga for the family and all those things. So if you tell them, give me 10,000 to open an account, even if they wanted to, they will never be able to get that kind of money to give you to open for them. So what did that mean? It meant that in the 90s, we only had 5% of the bankable population banked.
Of the bankable population.
And bankable here means that I'm earning an income of some sort, either through employment or through a small trade or other business. 95% did not have, actually it was 96%, did not have bank accounts because the conditions were too tough for them. What then that meant
so
is
how are they
that
getting their salaries?
they would, some of them would get their salaries in cash. But remember, some of them, the traders, it's a cash trade. So they just make some money. And that is where now we say that, where do they bank? And they bank under the mattress.
Under the mattress, yes.
And mattress here might mean physically the mattress, or a tin, or another place. But they don't take it to the bank. That was the reality.
They kept their money with them. Within,
exactly, yes. That was the reality. So 96% were bankable but not banked. Now, Equity was started in a village in central Kenya. And that was just because the farmers would get some produce money from, the cooperatives and all that. And they would get paid by checks. But then they don't have bank accounts. So they used to, the founder chairman of Equity is from that region. And
what's his name?
Mr. Peter Munga. And so they would take for him the checks because he used to work with the government that time. So the farmers figured out, or because this guy works with the government, he knows how to convert these checks into cash. So they'll bring all the checks to him and tell him, okay, we don't care what you do, just give us the cash. And then he decided, I don't think I want to do this for too long. It's too cumbersome. So that is where the idea of starting a bank that really understands the needs of these people came.
Wow.
And that is how Equity was founded. But because they will not have the 250 million to get a bank license, they opted to do a building society. That is why it was a building society.
Wow.
So it will still be able to do savings and loans. So after 10 years, the business model did not sort of do well because they were not able to grow the business. They were not able to create a strong brand because, also for banking, you really need to have a strong brand that people can trust. So it was technically insolvent in 10 years. It was started in 1984. By about 1993, it was technically insolvent. Did
it have non-performing loans?
54%. More than half of the loans were non-performing. The liquidity was way below the requirement by central bank of 20%. It was at 5%. It was making losses. Shareholders' funds were totally eroded.
Wow.
So it was not doing well.
It was on the deathbed.
It was on the deathbed. Actually, the central bank wanted to close it, but they were given one more chance to reopen on condition that they made some changes. So at this point, the business model was changed. And they said, how can we target this 96%, which is not banked? And that is when the microfinance model was put into place.
Just hold on. Let me just ask this question. The whole of the people who had banks account was just 4% of the bankable population.
Yes, that was
while
the reality.
All these other banks,
yes,
they just had 4% of the market.
Yes, because also the banks, for you to open an account, they will typically ask you to be introduced by an existing bank account holder.
Wow.
Now, if you only have 4% of the population banked, how likely are you to know a person who has a bank account in that particular bank?
Wow.
So banking was actually very elitist. It was for either the top corporates or a very few top employees.
And therefore, we're also saying,
yes,
banks, the physical location of banks, was not in every county.
No, they were not accessible, even the infrastructure. And that is why you can see one of the things that we did as Equity was to quickly grow the branch network so that we are accessible throughout the country. We have about 200 branches in the country right now.
Okay.
So that you are close to the people.
Okay.
So
let's go back to now that where you had left off.
Yeah. So that was the challenge, and the challenge for Equity was, and the opportunity. Let me call it the opportunity, was to figure out how to reconfigure the business model to become more relevant to these 96% who are banking with the mattress. And you know, we talked about the barriers. It's account opening balance, account maintenance balance, ledger fee, recommendations, even a photo, the requirement that come with a passport photo. It was a big issue.
Wow.
Because,
it's not digital at this time.
No, you had to actually bring a photo.
Yes.
To open an account. Now, can you picture yourself? Your home is in one of that, in Tetu. No, Tetu, by the way, is okay because I can walk to the town, to Nyeri town.
Yes, okay.
So we are not too rural.
Okay.
But you can imagine if you had to travel like 50 kilometers, like some of the customers have to get to the town.
Wow.
And then you come to the town, go to the studio, take a photo. That time it was not like these ones you're doing here.
You had to do something called develop it.
Washing. In Kikuyu, we used to call it
washing.
In Aosho. So it wasn't easy. So you go take the photo and then you are told come after 2 weeks or 3 weeks to check whether it's ready. Now, when you get the photo, then that's when now you go to the bank and then it takes another few days. So you'll make about 3 or 4 trips to just get the documentation right. So Equity said, you don't need to come with a photo. So there was a white wall. Take a photo and it's uploaded onto the system.
Can I ask this question? Yeah. Why wasn't the banks that had the 4%, why didn't they consider this 96% a target audience?
I can't answer on their behalf, but there are 2 scenarios. And the first one is they did not really understand the market.
Okay.
And the needs of the market. And they probably did not also understand how the people did their business. Because, you know, for you to innovate, you must first of all understand what the gap is and how the people operate. Okay. So and that is where Equity came in and said, we are understanding that if I earn a salary of 5,000, I am not possibly able to give you a balance of 10,000. So Equity said, hata kama ni shilingi moja, even if you have only 1 shilling to bank, bring it. Come with your documents, we'll take a photo of you and open an account for you. You don't need to put a minimum, just bring the money as it comes.
You made it extremely simple for them to open up accounts. Very easy. You removed the minimum balance. What about ledger fees?
The ledger fee was scrapped. No ledger fee. No account opening balance. No minimum balance. No ledger fee. Compete with the mattress. Because now, remember, your competition... Your competition, yes, your competition is a mattress, not another bank.
Mary, I'm going to take this one so slowly because I don't want us to think this is norm. You are saying, was there these banks used to make so much money on ledger fees. Banks could take your minimum deposit that you're not allowed to withdraw and go and make more money on it. Because it got it. So you guys were completely changing the model on how banks make money.
Yeah, but it's because we understood what the barriers were. Why aren't 96% of the people able to open an account? And then you understand it's because they keep their money under the mattress. And then you understand what is the competitiveness of the mattress. And the mattress does not ask a ledger fee from you. It does not ask for a minimum. Hata ukiweka 100 ni sawa.
Utatoa 100.
Utatoa 100. So you understand who your competitor is.
Okay, I get that.
And at that point, the competitor for equity was the mattress.
Wow.
So once we understood those barriers and the competitiveness of the mattress, it was very easy to configure the business model accordingly.
Okay.
And we told the customers, just come with your documents, we'll take the photo, deposit whatever you have. Take out your money whatever time you want. Even if you come in the morning and you want your money in the afternoon, it's okay, so long as the money is in the account. It's your money. Manage it the way you want. Why should I tell you to come after 7 days? And yet I'm not the one who is making this money. I'm not sure what you do to make this money. Come for it if you have to come 10 times a day, so long as your balance can support that. That's how the business of equity grew.
Okay, let me ask this question. I was in Zambia the other day and I was shocked when the banks, hearing that banks close at midday sometimes. Did you have operating hours that were different from the culture here?
Yes, equity started longer banking hours. So whereas other banks were closing at 1, equity started, I think initially it was 3 p.m. and then 4 p.m. I think now is 4:30. So the hours were changed earlier and later. And that was also a serious attraction to the customers because it gives them more flexibility. You know, especially those who are working in offices and they have limited time.
Okay.
So those kind of innovations are the ones that really attracted the market.
How was equity? Because this is so radical, let me just be honest. And you have to move your mindset to that time to understand that the radicalness of what equity was doing. What then was going to be the business model in which equity was going to make ROI? How are they going to make money?
It was very simple. It was because now you have collapsed all the barriers
Volumes
to entry. It's high volumes, low margins. High volumes, low margins. And we said we would rather have 1 million customers who each give us 10,000 than one customer who gives us 1 million.
Yani.
But even that one who gives us 1 million is welcome.
And you have them.
We are not, so we said it's an inclusive model. And we have everyone from the very top to the very entry level.
Yeah.
So you open it up and you have products and delivery channels for each and every category. So whether you are top executive, there's a product for you and there's a delivery channel for you. We have the supreme branches where that category of customers is accommodated. But we also have products for those who are just entering small balances, because our aim is to facilitate you to grow within your means.
And imagine.
So we broke down all those barriers, and that explains why equity grew the way it did.
You know, I'm thinking about you getting somebody straight out of high school, working with that person as they begin earning their first salary, all the way until that person becomes a millionaire. He's with you.
Yeah, because now you follow the lifestyle. So, and actually now it's not even from university, because we are also paying school fees.
Wings to fly.
Yeah, we have the scholarships, but even for those parents who pay school fees, we have products for them. So we are paying school fees. Some of the people who are our clients remember equity because they used to go to equity with their parent to process the school fees payment. So they became used to the brand and they used to aspire. And then now they go to university, you have products for the university students, and then they leave university and then it's a first job. You have products for them, you have cards, for them. Then after that, probably you are looking at, I'm now starting my young family. And now you have insurance for the family. You have a mortgage when they want to buy a car or a house. So you follow the lifestyle.
I get it.
Of the customer. So we always say now it is cradle to
the grave.
To the grave,
That's what it is. Yes.
And you follow the customer through their lifestyle because the needs also change according to their circumstances. And that is how now the products are structured.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the time Dr. James Mwangi is coming to meet you for the first time, because this 1.6 million USD,
yeah, the
120 million
the
Kenya
investment,
shillings,
yes,
has come in. What have these investors seen? They've seen that Equity's model is it wasn't a grant, it was them investing into the company.
It was them investing, and they were investing because they have understood the potential for very significant growth. But partly it was also because they want to support that move, to financial inclusion.
Yes.
So there was that double-edged
Bank the
model.
unbanked.
Banked the unbanked. So they want to support that.
Okay.
But they can also see huge potential for growth.
Yeah.
Because, you are looking at this highly fast-growing population, and you can figure out these guys will need banking.
Yes.
And financial services at some point. So it is the time for us now to prepare and, prepare the networks, set out the outlets, invest in technology, because we also did that at some point.
Yes.
Just after that investment, we invested in one of the top core banking systems that anyone had ever invested in Africa.
I know its name.
Finacle.
Yep. Yes.
By Infosys from India.
Yes.
So that investment was also made, and that was now to provide the platform to support the growth. Yeah.
So let me just say also, as somebody who's tech savvy, so much is happening at this crucial time called 2001, 2002. We're talking about the mobile money, which is a huge phenomenon, maybe coming in around that time, if I'm not wrong. But then we're also talking about 2002 and change of regime.
Yes.
You even clearly mentioned it in terms of the hope. So by the time now we can continue with the story, because you've beautifully explained this history. I have understood it, and I'm just like, wow. He was providing a solution, hence that birthed this building society. So by the time they're coming back to you and telling you, we need now your help, what does that mean now? Or let me just say, continue now from that.
Now to do the conversion.
Yes. You truly never know people until you take the time out to get to know people. Every time I get a guest here on CT, they ask me, the whole day, why are we coming here the whole day?
Yeah.
Now you get it.
I do. I'm like...
Now you're like, lunch we don't need to stop for.
Let's continue.
Okay. So, your dad passed on in 2002, eh?
Yes, April 2002.
Okay, that's the era that we're in right now.
Yes.
I'm hearing what's happening. And you're still going to... I mean, of course, you see, after death, you can't just sit in the house. And you've been forced to girl up or woman up, let's call it that.
Yeah.
So what does work in this time look like at Gina Dean's as you're wrapping off? Yeah.
Truthfully, to block myself from the pain, I jump into a lot of work. Safaricom becomes my medicine, becomes my therapy, because any event that there is, I want to do it, especially up country, because it means I'm constantly busy and I'm not having to think about losing my father and everything that it comes with. Obviously, there's a lot. And during the break, I mentioned to you how on a Friday evening, I'd finish work at Jinadin, jump into the car with my mom and my dad's company manager, go to Kubwezi for the weekend, run the station. Because at that time, I think we were even thinking it could happen, right? And then come back by Sunday evening and report back to Jobon. Because I didn't want to leave my job at Jinadin. Remember, I love it. Things are good. But I'm also drowning myself in any piece of work I can get, especially the out-of-town ones, because I'm also getting per diem, which is putting money in my pocket outside of my salary. So now I'm literally doing what most people do after a loss. You keep yourself super busy to not have to think about the real things in life.
And again, I'm going to ask this question. What does work look like? Because, you said something that you said you've spent half your life working at Safaricom, meaning you've got the history of this company. You've seen it grow from quote unquote a startup to what it is now.
This is year 2 of operation, so 2000, 2001, 2002. So my dad dies in the second year, 2002. Look, I'm still agency. We are delivering whatever Safaricom needs us to deliver. Yeah? We're on the road a lot. We're doing CSR. We are launching the network in Garissa. We are in Mombasa.
So from this perspective, now they are beginning to build their own infrastructure.
Yes,
so
Safaricom is now launching across the country. So wherever Safaricom's launching, it's us. We're the event team.
Hold on. You even said something. The thing about history is that you forget. So what do I mean by that? You said that when your dad was in Kibwezi, no one could have called because of network.
Network was, ironically, by the way, network was turned on either around the same time or a few months. Richie, I want to say, because I remember giving my dad a mobile phone, and I might be jumping here, but I believe by then there was network, and I remember getting excited that either I did give him one or it was my dream to give him one. I can't remember, but around the same time.
In the Mara, Safaricom has a mast.
Yes, at Serena.
Yeah, they have a tree that a mast that looks like the
2 now in Serena.
In Serena.
Yeah, 2. But that was it. It was made to build, so it was supposed to look like a tree so it doesn't stand out in that environment.
So what you're saying is you're going to launch, you were there for the growth of the network.
Yes.
And let me also be real, part of the reason a lot of people are on cancel is because it worked.
It did, yes. But Safaricom was rolling out network faster than cancel at the time. We were on the road.
That was part of their growth strategy.
That was, yeah, because we wanted to have the widest coverage in the country, and we did. And for the places we didn't have, there was the cell on wheels known as a cow. So for example, if there was a time in North Kenya during some conflict, we needed to, the government needed to communicate, we sent the cow. We even flagged it off from Safaricom.
What do you mean a cow?
It's called a cell on wheels. It's a net. It's called a cow. It's lovingly called a cow.
Yeah.
But yeah, the intention, remember,
cell on wheels.
Yes, cell on wheels. Remember, Richie, the intention now is that everyone must be able to communicate.
Yeah.
And so network rollout is very important. Voice at that time, voice and SMS. Data hasn't arrived yet.
M-Pesa, we're not even yet there.
Bado. M-Pesa is 2007.
By the way, let me tell you, you're a national treasure. When people say that, they mean you.
No, I mean, again, remember, 20-something years of my life.
Yeah.
That's what I did every single day of my life. I woke up to work on this brand. So it's like remembering your child's first footstep. You don't forget that.
Yeah.
And many of us, it's not just me, there's thousands of people that contributed to the growth and to what we know Safaricom as today.
Yeah. So you're going to, again, I'm taking it slowly because these things, you're throwing words, to you they are normal.
Yeah, they are normal.
Like to me,
I recognize.
What? Cow, cell on wheels.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to launch. What's the other thing that you're doing? I'm trying to see it. A lot of CSR. Marketing was not you guys, it was agency.
No, there was a marketing department that had just started being formalized under Hugh Herschel. Hugh Herschel was there, he was in marketing, he was responsible, but marketing, advertising, media by ETC, like paid media. Remember, we are responsible for earned media, which is PR. Paid media was the advertising agency. At that time, I believe it was.
And when you say paid media, you're talking about TV spots?
TV spots, print media, billboards, all of that. That wasn't being done by Junadin, not us at GDCC. We were responsible for events, PR, media relations. So what we call earned PR.
I get it.
Earned media, sorry.
Okay. So 2003. What's that like for you?
So in 2002 was the first time Safaricom approached me and said, would you like to come and work? We will be launching the Safaricom Foundation, and the lady that was there, God rest her soul in peace, Mildred, was going to be moved to now run the foundation, and they wanted an internal replacement for Mildred, and they approached me to do that. Now remember, 2002 is the year my dad died, and probably the worst year of my life. That year was, I wouldn't again, Richie, even want my enemies to go through what I went through in 2002. So at that point, I declined and I said, where I am emotionally, Gina didn't understood me. She understood I needed to leave on a Friday by lunchtime because I had this other life. She let me be me and supported me to be me. I knew if I walked into a corporate, or felt that if I walked into a corporate, I wouldn't be able to meet the demand in my home life. And so I declined that job at that point.
Wow. Listen to that contrast in bosses from the gym place that you worked. You're turning down probably more money.
3 times more money.
Yeah. In a difficult time financially,
Yes.
where you've been forced to step up as a provider.
But I knew it was the right thing because I knew I would never be able to give what I needed to give by walking into Safaricom, because I didn't think I was fully ready for that. But more importantly, I was in a very roller coaster moment of my life where I was also not just going through my father's death, but a horrible, horrible breakup that was also affected. So I was just, you know how you take steel wire and then that was me. You couldn't get a full sentence out of me in that year. So 2002 also saw my uncle and my 1 year older to me cousin die. So that was, yes. So that was a really, really horrible year.
2002? Wow.
You know, somebody once said, people go in threes. They really do. And unfortunately, in my family, it seemed to have taken, in every family, almost you'd argue the person that they loved most. So in my family, my dad, in my uncle's family, my uncle, and in my cousin's family, my cousin. So, hey, Richie, let me tell you, I think I even stopped believing in God that year. I said, God doesn't exist because this doesn't happen. This shouldn't happen. This is not, this God that I pray to every day cannot possibly be allowing this to happen. So my uncle died in August and my cousin died about 10 days after coming back from one of the prayer days in a road accident on the way back from Narok. He was hit by a truck, lost control, and unfortunately died on the spot. It's not something everybody in the family speaks about. I think everybody still struggles with that in a really big. But yeah, that was then. So there's then Safaricom saying, come work for us. And I'm like, no, I'm not where I need to be. So I was, you know, and I'll always say Gina and Captain treated me like their own child, because what those guys allowed me to be and feel and is something you can only ask for through prayer. But those guys really held me, and it's something I'll forever be grateful for. Yeah, so I wasn't going to leave that for more money, whereas I knew something would fall apart if I did.
You know, you've given such beautiful advice to somebody right there. You know, a lot of times we're chasing the bottom line, or we're chasing the money, and it's needed.
Oh my goodness,
life has demands.
I needed that money. I needed that money desperately, but I would have taken, if I had gone to Safaricom then, I'm very sure I wouldn't have lasted. And I would have done a lot more damage to myself by going than not going and figuring out how to survive. Also, financially, I had my siblings who were helping out as well. So they were helping with what they could. Remember, they're also, one person's new in the country, 2 are still in university, so they can only send back what they can. But in between, I'm sitting here today, Richie. There must be something that went right.
Yeah, I get it. And let's also be honest, Safaricom was an extremely high pressure company.
It was.
They were trying to get, I mean, even now it is a high
Yeah.
pressure.
No, it was run
And so
and get
being run by
things
Michael
done.
Joseph. Did you interact with him at any time?
Almost every day. Almost every day. Yeah.
When you
And-
were at dinners? Because you were
Yes,
under
yes,
the account.
because-
Is it, you called the Caroline?
No, but now Caroline left and I became account director. So I took over the account.
What?
Yeah. In 2002, same year. I'm now account director.
At 20? Still under 30. 3 to 35, 30 minus 3. 27.
Yeah.
Hey,
So I'm
you
running
got
that.
serious.
Now I'm serious. Now I'm whatever. But yeah, it was good. And there was this side of making things happen at Safaricom, running the stuff. And it sounds so easy, but we were an ecosystem. If you want to know the person I've traveled this country most with is Japheth Kagondu. He was the media director. So wherever I was with event management, Japheth was right next to me. We've traveled. I think the only place Japheth and I did not go to was Turkana. We've been to every corner. Ask me anywhere Japheth and I went to in the first 5 years of Safaricom.
And that's because of their penetration strategy.
Yes. Richie, we've been to Loitokitok, we've been to Busia, we've been to Maralal, we've been to Lamu, we've done Chale, like name it. Even the first eco-friendly, I think it was the wind turbine base station in Africa, is actually sitting in Lamu. We launched that. We were in boats with our cameras and stuff. But we were having fun. We were like, the first level I didn't go to. I went to the second one and I remember standing there and saying, which crazy people are running in the wild? Like, who does this kind of thing? But there's Safaricom with all its glory. They're saying we're here to support the community. And then how I ended up taking over on the Safaricom side of things, organizing the marathon is the night before in 2002, was it? June 2002. Caroline got food poisoning the night before and couldn't go. So now I've landed in Lewa by myself.
And now, for context, Lewa is a marathon.
Yes, in the bush.
Yes, it's
literally.
Yes.
So yeah, those are the kind of things. But we were, honestly, Richie, we were having the time of our lives. We were in this high octane, high pressure account, but we loved every minute of it.
From a PR perspective, were you getting number reporting? Are you being told this is what our subscriber base looks like? Or
Yes. There were targets. There were revenue targets. There was PR targets. There was what we were going to do. There was a rollout strategy. There's no blind, let's wake up, and there was a system to the
numbers.
To the numbers,
to your KPIs, basically.
Real startup, you know where you're going, and you're going with whatever it takes for getting it done.
And what would you say was the driving goal at the time from where you start?
Remember that original vision Michael Joseph shared that everyone must be able to have a mobile in their hand? That's what drove us.
Wow.
We need to make sure that Safaricom is everywhere. Let me tell you a story about Maralal. There's a lady, a children's home called Shep. I think it's still there. It's run by a lady from Samburu who at the time, if I understood the story correctly, was children with disabilities culturally were left to die because it's a taboo, it's whatever. She would go and rescue them, whether it's at night when they've been thrown into so a lot of them would be tied to trees and hope that an wild animal will take them and eat them. It's the reality that does happen. She would rescue them and then bring them back. So we were fundraising through an event called the Maral Camel Derby, which is a weekend event where people race camels. It's really fun. And then all the funds raised from that event would go to her to help her run the home. And so obviously at Safaricom, the beauty about people like Michael Joseph and Bob Collymore is you never just go and give what you've said you're going to give. You go and you find other situations, you go and say, okay, we're going to also solve this or we're going to do this. So we went in and I think in that year, we were trying to build them a dormitory. So we built them a dormitory. Then Michael realized actually they don't have hot water to shower, so we're going to donate solar systems, generators, those kind of things. So
Wow.
that's what we were doing. We were literally, and the first 2 years of Maralal, we didn't even have network there. We'd take, remember the cow?
Yes.
The cow would come with that so we could communicate. There would be a dealer, they would be there with lots of phones and airtime. The community would talk, get excited. There was even one time the community refused us to live with the cow. They said, no. Now you're not going nowhere.
In the network.
The technology team were like, we've been refused departure. Because people are like, where you go? You can't bring us communication and take it away. But Maralal got network very quickly then. Even towns like Garissa where people were not, I don't think at the time even that Kensal thought that Garissa was worth putting a network, a base station. Safaricom did. I went for that launch. I remember, I think I have a picture of it somewhere inside the server, whatever it's called, I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
But I have a picture of me in there.
That vision that he had of everybody with a cell phone.
Yes.
That was countercultural at the time to the place. Because people are like, can this
Only
guys
the
really-"
rich can afford, right?
Yeah. These guys don't even have landlines. They don't even have space. What do they need a phone for?
But everybody did. It was so exciting. Even in my house, the number I got for Anjiro followed one digit after my mom. She still has that number. It was the most exciting thing. Everybody. Nowadays, our kids think it's so normal to have a mobile phone.
Yeah.
You know, my son tells me how to, when I'm trying to do eSIM, I'm like, now, what is eSIM? He's like, he's already connecting me. But in those days, we were like, oh my, like I remember when I first spoke on the mobile phone, I was like, this is not normal. Yeah.
Okay. So 2000, first of all, that year is hard from a loss perspective.
Yes.
You're losing a
Huge.
lot. Career, you're actually beginning to thrive.
Yes, career is doing
honest,
fine. Work is good.
And you must be delivering to the point where that's You are delivering to the point that Safaricom now even want you.
Yes.
Despite your papers being,
I don't think at the time they cared about papers. Honestly, it's about who you are and what you could do.
And I think we've also gone back to that culture where papers are just a bystander, but what is it that you were doing that you felt given to advise someone else right now? But it just sounds like you really had a lot of hard work in delivery.
Hey, Richie, it's 10,000 hours that no one sees. You know, it's that, and Bob used to put it really well to us. He's like, this musician is great, not because he's talented, but because he puts 10,000 hours behind that no one knows about. It's those 10,000 hours. By the time, let me give you an example of what we've just come out of, Soulfest. People think Soulfest is appear the week of the event and these beautiful things happened on stage. We've already started working on Soulfest now and it's in December. It's 10,000 hours. It's an entire ecosystem of people who are in their areas. The guy who's going to do the stage this year is already thinking about the design. The production team is already thinking about who they're contacting to be on that stage. Security is already thinking about what are the learnings from December and what are we going to do better. Ticketing is looking at what new technologies are. Soulfest doesn't happen the week of Soulfest. It's those 10,000 hours that no one is seeing.
Oh my God.
So when people come to me and say, I have a concert next week, I'm like, hey. No.
And I like what you did at Soulfest.
It's 10,000 hours that no one sees about. And I say 10,000 just because it's something I learned, I picked up from Bob. But it's true for everybody. Nobody becomes an overnight success. It's a lucky few. But people are putting in hours and hours and hours of work before somebody realizes, actually, hang on a second. So yes, paper matters. The paper does. I think we're still very much in a world that thinks or demands that degree and stuff like that. Lucky are the few who don't have a degree and make it for whatever reason. But we still work in a society or live in a society that is still driven by paper. I'll give you an example, Richie. We don't have a formal office per se, not until recently. We just built our own structure last year, May, and it's not a humongous. In fact, when I left Safaricom, people were like, okay, so are you going to be a big agency? Are you going to have like 20, 30 people in your team? And are you going to, and I was like, hey, I'm barely Can you allow me to step out of this big building first, and I'll figure it out? And I was very clear that I was going to do this inch by inch at a pace that I could handle. Most businesses fail immediately because you've gone and taken on all these things that you're trying to keep up with. So I remember we pitched for a job, and part of the pitch process was the supply chain said they were going to come and see our offices in order to verify whether we could do the job, not that we exist. Look at the difference here, right? Do we exist versus can we handle the job? And so when they called me, I'll never forget, it was the supply chain department, and they said, we'd like to visit your offices tomorrow. And I said, we don't actually have an office. So if you need a meeting, we can meet somewhere. I can set up, we can go to a Coffeesy or Carnival. Carnival has been very good to me. They always give me their boardrooms, or gave me when I didn't have an office space. We can meet there. They said, no, we want to see your employees. I said, we don't have an office. They're like, okay, then we don't think you can do the job. So I said, what does me being in a building, sitting at a desk have to do with the fact that we can deliver this as a team? Richie, for some reason, they gave us a job, and we delivered this conference for them. Because I told the guy, I said, come. And if you're coming, you're going to find my team works in my veranda at home. That's where you're going to meet us. So if you want the genuine side, the non-hidden, the non-pretentious side of who we are as BE, please come to my house. You will find my team meets in the veranda, or we meet at Carnival, or we meet wherever we are. And he said, okay. They never came for the meeting, but they gave us a job because he said, you know what, Zah, at least you were honest. He was, I'd never met the gentleman until the actual conference, but he said to me, at least you were honest. You didn't pretend that you didn't go and hire an office and pretend this. I said, but it'll catch up with you. But it's interesting how COVID should have taught us that the world has changed. None of my clients today are demanding for an office space. It's there now. We were fortunate enough to have built a space for ourselves. But the clients who valued our, never did Kina, Sauti Sol, Moriasi, or any of our other clients come and say, where's this office? We met wherever we needed to meet. And so we always say work is a space, not a place in our industry. I get there's some industries that need the space, the equipment, etc. But it's interesting how people are looking for different things in what they believe is that truth, that reality, that must happen like this in order for this to happen like that. So back to your thing about having the degree, I don't think Safaricom even to this day knows what degree I hold. That's not what they were interested in. They were interested in who's best for the job and how can we get the best at what they're at.
And I'll want to find out later on as you're progressing within Safaricom whether that degree becomes an issue. You know what I mean? But I mean, you've answered it because you progressed.
To answer now, no, it never did.
It never.
Ever. I don't think anybody stood there. Richie, the fact is for the people who said, this isn't going well, or this person doesn't understand this because she doesn't have a marketing degree, were probably stuck in the fact that they had a marketing degree. And but those are, I don't think it changed anything, to be real, to be honest. I had not gone in to want to be a marketer, to sit on the advertising side. I had gone into the event side, which is what I was very passionate about. So even when the growth opportunities came, I never wanted to go into segment marketing or to be the head of marketing. I never chose that path. I was very much in love with the brand side of things. And it's spoken for itself. I don't have regrets.
25 years later, bro. This is just such gold. First of all, thank you so much for coming. And then thank you for coming in the right posture. I keep saying that, and I'll keep thanking you. So, 2002, you get offered this opportunity in Safaricom, and you turn it down, and you keep working at
Genius, yeah.
I do also have these other clients that you're still also...
Yeah. Life has to happen. Life continues.
Yeah.
Nobody's waiting for you to finish. I mean, people allow you to grieve and stuff like that, but the world is moving.
By the way, that's so
The
true.
sun is rising and the sun is setting.
Yeah.
Nothing's paused.
Of late, I've had a lot of friends who've lost people, and I've also
Yeah.
lost people. In fact, when you said they come in threes, I really got a deja vu moment because we lost in threes.
Yeah.
But life doesn't stop.
Richie, I've seen
Traffic is still there. Guys are still hooting at you.
people have to move. Your school fees, nobody in school is gonna say it's okay. You didn't get a gig this month, don't pay school fees. Where? No one cares. People are living. People have to. The machinery continues.
Okay.
So yes, the world was going on. I had to keep working.
And
There was-
and it's the same client, Grand Regency, and what are you doing for Grand Regency?
Just PR. At that time, it's PR.
It's just PR, right?
And they'd opened a restaurant called Sitar Restaurant. So they wanted that to be, it was an Indian restaurant they had just launched.
Yeah.
So they wanted that to be the kind of put out there, etc. A lot of ad hoc clients as well, but Safaricom was now my baby. Once you are with Safaricom and on the road constantly, at some point I think I'd even said, I can't take on these other ones. It's too much. I'm not able to focus. I had other accounts, but those were like once a month things that I could balance. But Richie, when you think about Safaricom, and actually when we re-signed the contract, I was now based fully in Safaricom. I was no longer reporting at Gina Din.
Now this time when
Yes.
is she called
Still
Caroline?
2002.
Yeah, when Caroline left. Or
Yeah, she
Caroline-
left to
So
move
now
on.
you become executive,
Account director.
account director,
Executive was what I was, yeah. Now I'm account director. I'm in charge of the account.
but you're based.
But
at
now I'm based
Safaricom.
at Safaricom.
So you're a Ginedine employee.
Coordinating everything every day.
And
for
what salary looking at? Can you share that? You don't have to, but
Hey, do I remember well? I think it was after tax 27K. Why are you laughing? It was good money. Richie, this is 2002, 2000. Why? I'm not sure why you're laughing.
my God, I know it's 2002, but that's a good weekend.
Papa, we're now in 2026. You can't
Wow.
compare. But yes, it was industry. It was fit with industry payment
Yeah.
for the world we were in.
That's of course minus per diems, hence why you like
Per
travel.
diem is where the money was.
Yes.
It went up. Wait, I did get more money when I became account director. Yeah, but
Yeah.
to give you,
Rituals.
yeah.
Okay. This time you're based now, so you're a Ginedine employee who's based at Safaricom.
Yes. So Monday mornings at 8, I go for the weekly GDCC meeting. Finish by 11. By lunchtime, I'm in SAF. Then I belong to SAF. What SAF says, we do.
Wow. And where was Safaricom at this time?
The 1 year, sorry, it was called SCC, Safaricom Care Center. It's still there now. Our office was on 6th floor. So I was based on 6th floor.
Hold on, the one near sorry. Oh yes, that's the first one. It's not the other one up the. Up
Those ones came later.
Yeah. Okay.
Those ones came later, HQ1 and so there's SCC, HQ1, HQ2. HQ1 and 2 are connected by that tunnel. So SCC is the one that's near Sarit, near the
Yes.
Ukochini.
I
Yeah,
guess.
that was the office. I had a desk on 6th floor. But you know, Richie, none of the colleagues ever treated me like I was any different. I was part of the marketing team. If we were going for end of year party, Christmas party, I was very much a part of that. I was enjoying both sides of the world. I would have 2 Christmas parties in December. One with the SAF team, one with the GDCC team. The only thing is I was not collaring Safaricom bonus, which was very painful for the amount of work. I remember when we hit the 1 millionth customer, it was at Carnivore. It was a big deal, all staff. We fit in one tent, by the way.
Yeah.
And we had a big party. Me, I'm a contractor. Remember, I'm still not an employee of Safaricom. And Michael Joseph gets up and says, that month everyone was going to get an extra salary as bonus. I've never felt so much pain in my life. I wanted to cry. I was like, my goodness, all this work, I'm here with you guys every day, and I'm not seeing this bonus. Yeah.
I mean, but that's wonderful that he celebrated the team
He
in that
did.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So
We were looked after. One thing Safaricom got right was its people first. People first. In an era of CEOs where CEOs were customer, shareholders, Safaricom was like staff first.
Wow.
And
Okay. So you're seated at the marketing office at
SCC,
SCC. What does SCC stand for?
Safaricom Care Center.
Care Center. As PR for Gina Dean.
Yeah, events more. PR was being handled by Dennis Chebitu and Jaffel.
Okay.
I was doing events.
But
Yes, but my job as account director was to make sure everyone knows where they're supposed to be.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm responsible for, today we're in Maralal, we need to send a camera crew.
I get
That's
it.
happening.
It's easier once you're at Safaricom.
Oh yeah, because you're at the
you're not making
pulse.
phone calls.
How else do you know the brand? How else? You can't run it from, you have to be part of the brand. You have to understand it so that when you know, you can't be learning the brand
You're a
from.
Safaricom employee without a Safaricom contract.
Yes,
And bonus and salary.
basically, yeah. No benefits.
The benefit.
Friends with no benefits.
Okay, so 2003. What's that looking like?
Now 2003, I'm still getting over my dad, getting over this horrible relationship I'm transitioning out of. Probably November, December, Safaricom, and Michael Joseph with all his, he comes to me and he says, I'm going to offer this job to you one more time, and I will never ask again.
What?
Yeah, so are you taking it or not? And I was like, at that point now, I was like, shit. Reality is I need the money. But I think Michael called Gina and said, I'm going to offer Zah the job. So he did the job, etc. And so when I went back to the office, they had the conversation. I hadn't quite had the conversation, right? Gina told me, Michael's called me and I think you should take the job. I don't think you should continue here any longer. You need the money. You need to be realistic. etc. And so I went back and I remember calling Michael's PA, Tabby, and saying, is Michael here? She said, he's due to go to Tanzania, but if you come quickly, you can see him. And I went to his office to say, I'll take the job. So I was put through an interview process towards November 2003, and then got the job. January 2004, I reported at Safaricom on 4th of January.
It's break time. Okay, we're coming back. We're coming back after this break.